listen, never in my life associated the word boring with baseball.
We know what's up.
Me? Yeah. Famous? Yeah.
And I'm like giddy over there smiling like, we're about to win this shit.
Did everyone give you crap? Give me a good host story.
I'm not picking it up.
We both love the game.
We talk about it every day.
Getting on baseball.
Having some popcorn, you're fooling around your phone.
I'd have to wait in line for 3 hours.
Hang on, because it's about to be a wild ride.
So I'm out shoveling snow, and I'm thinking, what would I rather be doing than this? Oh, a lot of things. But I could be basking in the beautiful climes of spring training, just the perfect day, watching baseball, and it would still be the same thing would be coming back in my head. There is nobody I would rather be talking to right now more than Sam Dykstra of MLB Pipeline. How about that one?
That was a good one. That was a good one. I'm going to remember that too. Like when it's 82 degrees in West Palm Beach, and I'm a little bit worried about getting too much of a suntan that day. I'm going to remember this intro, Rob.
Yeah.
Like, I could have been shoveling snow. Isn't this wonderful?
Yeah, like when you realize that you had gotten the 15 sunblock instead of the 30, like things that the Chilean miners were obviously worried about as well as they were sticking the straws up through the ground. Yeah, just remember this, that if I was only talking to Rob, if I was only talking to Rob, it makes everything all right. All right, well, you have the list came out again on January 23rd, right? Correct?
Correct. Yeah, last Friday we revealed our top 100 list for the preseason of 2026. Completely new. Everything's shaken up, all voted on, all seen by people in the industry to give their rubber stamp on it or tell us where to move guys up and down. It's one of our busiest times of the year. Everybody asks like, oh, what do you do in the offseason? This is what we do in the offseason. We get everybody prepped for the season itself with these top 100 lists.
Tell me the one that you get the most emails about.
Probably the ones I get the most comments about just from people in the office, from people in the industry, from people just on social media is Trey Savage.
Oh,
obviously World Series hero.
Number 12.
Number 12, which people think, I've seen this guy. I know this guy. I've seen his splitter strike out, some of the best players in baseball. There was that iconic image of Shohei Ohtani, like whiffing and his helmet falling off and Trey Savage walking off all cool. If you can strike out Shohei Ohtani in the World Series, shouldn't you be a top 5 prospect? I get it. He's number 3 on our pitching list too, so it's not like we even see him as the best pitching prospect in baseball. I like Trey Savage a lot. Number 12 is really good. I want to emphasize that. Yeah. Number 12 prospect in the entire sport. Like we're going to end up ranking 900 prospects. He's number 12 amongst the 900. But the thing I keep coming back to, it's just a 3-pitch mix. He's got that rising 4-seam fastball out of the supremely high release point. It's him and Justin Verlander 1-2 in terms of highest release point in all of Major League Baseball. He's got that slider that even moves arm side, and he's got that really, really good splitter. But what happens when major leaguers see that more often? I think the advantage for him against the Dodgers, against the Yankees, teams just hadn't seen it yet. They hadn't seen it on tape as much, even though that exists a little bit in AAA. They hadn't seen it in person. What happens when you can make that adjustment and he doesn't have that glove side pitch like a Bubba Chandler or certainly a Nolan McLean do? That's how he ended up at 12.
Well, what's interesting? You saying this? We just had some great traject machine talk with Ryan O'Hearn. I love some good traject machine talk. Mm-hmm. But one of the things is, I think somebody was saying, I can't remember who was saying this, that they couldn't simulate Trey Savage properly on the traject machine because of his arm angle, because it was
I've heard that.
High.
Yeah. It's too high for the traject machine, which makes it difficult for you. And that's again, to his advantage. He's just such a unique pitcher. He's so over the top. It's not an extreme extension at all. The fact that his slider, like I said, technically moves arm side, it's enough to be like a cutter-like movement, but it's still freaky in its own way, and that's his third best pitch. It's fascinating, and maybe teams won't make the adjustment. Maybe he ends up being the ace of the Blue Jays this year. I think he's more of a number 2, number 3, because I think major league hitters are really good and can adjust the more they see something, even if they're not able to prepare for it with machines pregame.
So for reference, we should note the other pitchers you put ahead of him: Nolan McLean, number 6 of the Mets, and Bubba Chandler, number 11, right before you, Savage. So I got it. I'm glad you brought up you, Savage, because I do find him fascinating I think a lot of people do exactly what your friends and colleagues are doing, which is, wait a second, what are you talking about? The Blue Jays have this awesome rotation. They got Dylan Cease, they got Kevin Gausman, Shane Bieber looked really good, and what an embarrassment of riches! You have Trey Savage, this guy who looked absolutely like no doubt about it, ace. But people aren't ready to go there. And there's other guys like that. And I think this is sort of how baseball's changed a little bit. There is a little bit of that hesitation. You tell me if I'm wrong, but there is a little bit of that more of a hesitation than there has been before, where, for instance, a guy like Conley Early, right? Conley Early, same thing. Like, hey, good job, man. Like, you look really good, but we're not ready to put you in the starting rotation quite yet. So,
Yeah. We can't bank on that in the way that they should. And especially for the Blue Jays, if they are going for it in the way they want, you don't want just like, hey, here's a really good starting five, because somebody's going to get hurt. We know somebody's going to get hurt. Shane Bieber is coming off a time where he hasn't pitched in a while. Like, yeah, he looked pretty good in the playoffs, but like, can you bank on him throwing 180 innings this year? No. So even if Trey Savage right now looks like their number 4, number 5 with the injuries, he's going to be relied on as a number 2, number 3, or maybe even the ace if he pitches as well as anything close to what we saw in the postseason.
Yeah, we say this, and then the Mets, before getting Peralta, they were like, well, we got Nolan McLean. He could be right?
Yeah, they were banging that drum as loud as they could to anybody who would listen, be like, did you see him down the stretch? He's already our ace. And it's like, okay, but you shouldn't be banking on him to repeat.
Well, anyway, it was a great list, and of course, led by Connor Griffin, who I'm going to reference my conversation with Ryan O'Hearn again, where he just said, "Oh yeah," because obviously Ryan is now signed with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and he's like, "Yeah, he's I forget how he said, like, build a player. Yeah, he's a build a player." I'm like, have you heard this before? Like the build a player? I like this.
I've heard of that in some ways, yeah. Like if you're making a video game character and you're just maxing out all the rankings and all the tools, everything you possibly could, it would probably come out like Connor Griffin. I get that 100%.
All right, so I like that. I'm only thinking it through the prism of potential T-shirts. So, yeah. So we have your top 100 list, but the challenge that I had put in front of you, Sam, was I want to find out, because people want to know the here and the now. They don't want to think about the future. They want to know who are these guys that are going to actually help? Who are these guys who are going to land and actually be guys that are impactful guys, or just maybe making the team that we don't suspect, right? And there's guys who did it last year. You tell me, first of all, because obviously, like, I have to cover the Red Sox a lot, so I immediately think of Christian Campbell. Christian Campbell, we didn't know what he was. Like, we still didn't know what he was when spring training started. We had no idea. And then he has a terrible beginning of spring training. And then out of nowhere, they're like, yeah, Vaughn Grissom, we're going to push you to the side. Christian Campbell, you're going to be our opening day second baseman. So there's instances like that. Do you remember other guys who sort of made the team, maybe that we didn't realize that we're going to absolutely make the team?
Ooh, that's a good question of years past. Nothing
that's
immediately
okay.
comes to mind. Yeah, I'm sure something's gonna hit my mind later.
No,
but Christian Campbell is a good example, because they pushed him out thinking like the bat speed was going to play, everything was going to play, and then they put so much on his plate later in the year. I was talking about that with somebody earlier. Like, he was supposed to be the second baseman, and now I sit here now as like, who's a Red Sox second baseman? And I don't think it'd be Christian Campbell, because
he's not.
They
moved him to the outfield, and it's a great lesson, for any player about how, and for any team, how you go in with best case scenario, and then how spring training also, and this is a big part of this conversation. We'll have guys who potentially could be those guys this year, but spring training is a tricky one, man. Like, it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one for you and me. It's a tricky one for fans not to overreact, but it's even a tricky one for teams. It really is. And like that one, it was a perfect example. Christian Campbell was terrible for the first few weeks. And then they take an off day. Then they see a little bit of improvement. They see a little bit of improvement. And then he makes the team opening day, and he's on fire for that month. And then here come the adjustments.
Right.
Anyway, it's a microcosm of life, I guess.
Well, one thing I want to throw out there too, and I'm sure this was part of the calculus with Campbell, was the prospect promotion incentive.
Yeah.
That if you are somebody who makes the team out of camp and you get 172 days of service time and you win Rookie of the Year or you finish top 3 Cy Young or MVP voting in your first 3 years, you are eligible to win the team another draft pick. We saw it. We're going to see it in 2026. The Braves get a pick for Drake Baldwin winning Rookie of the Year last year. We've seen last year the Royals got an extra pick because Bobby Witt Jr. finished top 3 in MVP voting. It's a real thing teams have to consider. And sometimes they're bringing them up earlier, like the year before. You bring them up for a couple weeks in September, let them get their feet wet. But sometimes you push them out a little early, thinking like, hey, he might struggle out of the gate, but if he's as good as we expect, we think he's going to make the adjustment. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And you don't want to be like a Pittsburgh Pirates or an Athletics, right? Like the Pirates didn't get an extra pick for Paul Skeens, even though we knew he was the same guy on opening day as he was when he made his major league debut. Nick Kurtz looked amazing in Vegas right out of the gate. They could have started him on opening day, and yet they didn't. He goes on win Rookie of the Year. Now they don't get anything to show for it. You don't want to come up empty-handed when you know you have a really, really good player. Sometimes that's going to result in guys getting pushed out a little too early.
All right. By the way, you mentioned Drake Baldwin, and I'm trying to think back the spring training because I remember guys mentioning to me, "Oh, just Drake Baldwin, Drake Baldwin." What do you would you have guessed that what he did, like going back to last spring training? And I know this is when you woke up this morning, you didn't think that I'd be asking about Drake Baldwin, but so be it.
No, I really like Drake Baldwin. I mean, we put him into the top 100 last year. I think he was in the 60 range because he could be a really strong all-around catcher. My bigger question going into last year was, is he going to get enough playing time? Like, do they send him back to Gwinnett to make him an everyday player? And I want to say I asked him about that last time, or when I saw him, and he's like, I'm here to do whatever the team needs. Like, if that's in the major leagues, that's great. If they want me to develop, that is what it is. But I think everybody secretly wants to be in the big leagues, right? Like, they don't want to. There's some advantage to be playing every day, and you'll get the rare player to say that. But then Sean Murphy didn't have the year they wanted. There were injuries, as what happens with catchers, and Drake Baldwin was a fully rounded product, and we saw the Braves reap the rewards of that, having him up and then filling that role for them all year, becoming their number one, and like I said, getting them an extra pick for 2026.
So, who's going to push the issue this year? This is what I want to know. Who's going to, like, for you, who is going to emerge, maybe push the issue? Maybe that's a great way to look at it. Of like, okay, who's going to have teams make that decision that you're talking about, off of these top 100 prospects, maybe just outside the top 100 prospects. The floor is yours. You tell me, because I want people to get excited about spring training more than just the WBC.
Yeah, well, let's start with the top 2 guys, right? Like Konnor Griffin and Kevin McGonigle. Both of them we have right now as ETAs of 2026 because it's pretty clear to see that they are going to be in the major leagues at some point this year. But I think both of them have a decent shout of making the opening day roster for the Pirates and the Tigers. Look at the Pirates right now. They don't have a great shortstop option. If you were to start right now, maybe it's Nick Gonzalez. But Konnor Griffin, despite not having any AAA experience whatsoever, the big question was the bat. He proved that last year. He's got immense power. He's got incredible speed, plus speed, really strong throwing arm. Everybody thought he was going to have to rotate between shortstop and center field, hopefully find a place to make the most of his athleticism. And my colleague Jonathan Mayo sent out an executive poll. He was voted the best defender in the minors.
Really?
At 6'4".
Really?
Yeah,
at shortstop.
I mean, it wasn't a majority opinion.
Yeah.
I will put that out there. But I think people were honestly taken aback by how good he was at short. He has the arm for it. He has the range for it. Is he going to have the hands for it? Yes, he did that as well. So he's ticking every box, going back to your build a player mode. Yeah. And if you look at where the Pirates are right now, and again, like Nick Gonzalez is not exactly an exciting shortstop, but they made some decent Ryan O'Hearn,
Ryan O'Hearn
getting Brandon Lau.
Cute.
Like they are building a lineup to compete.
Mangum,
to compete.
Mangum, like good Jake Mangum, good player. Let's go.
Yeah. They have some interesting pieces, and they obviously have that rotation. Like they cannot be wasting Paul Skeens years. They just can't. So if they think Konnor Griffin is close to being their number one option and somebody who could grow into their number one option, they're going to give him every shot to win that job out of spring. Jonathan Mayo, like I said, my colleague, does the Pirates list for us. He's very connected over there. We asked him a few weeks ago, how does he feel? Is it 50-50? I think as we sit here now, it's probably creeping up. Like, I just think if he has even a decent spring and shows off all those tools that we expect him to have, he'll be there on opening day for Pittsburgh. Now, is he going to hit 210 in the first month? I think that's possible. But if you're the Pirates, you wear that, you allow him to grow because what he's shown at every level so far is terrific adjustability.
I think so. And you hit the nail on the head, that last sentence you said, because even though adjustability, I don't know, is that a word?
I'm going to use it as a word. I've used it before. I don't know if it is adaptability, however you want to use it.
I mean, put in, we're making things happen.
Yeah.
I probably think it's a word. I'm probably just dumb. But I sat down with Ben Sherrington at the end of the year and we were talking about Konnor Griffin, and he said that. He's like, listen, we just kept moving the guy and he just kept getting better or just kept being excellent. And that was noticeable. Like even Ben, when he talked this way, it was almost like it was just so matter of fact. There was no like hype train. It was like he produces every level that we put on. So what are we supposed to do? Not keep moving him up? So I think I'm going to put him at opening day at 80%. Boom.
All right. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
And I love the fact that we can watch this in spring training. And like that's what I'm talking about though. Like every little bit of spring training is going to be like watching this kid. So yeah, I love it.
And people are going to want to pitch to him because he is, more lists are coming out. Baseball America's had theirs come out. Keith Laws had his come out at The Athletic. Kylie McDaniel at ESPN. He's the slam dunk number one overall prospect. Like sometimes there's a debate. There's no debate now. Konnor Griffin is number one, and every major league pitcher is going to have heard of him in some way. So it's not like, oh, who's this 19-year-old they're bringing up? Like this is a guy people are going to want to face and see if they can take a bite out of. So I mentioned the top two guys. Number two is Kevin McGonigle, the shortstop prospect for the Detroit Tigers. Everything I said about Konnor Griffin, like supremely athletic, and I'll throw out this comp. He's Bobby Witt Jr. a few inches taller. Like everything is there for him to be an absolute superstar. Kevin McGonigle, I will say, I think is the best hitting prospect of the 2020s.
Whoa!
In terms of hitting prospect.
It's okay. It's still good.
I don't want to put overall prospect on it.
No. It's fine. Wow.
I think this is a guy who could win multiple batting titles. Maybe not even just in his career, like before he gets to free agency. We've seen really good hitting prospects come up. Jacob Wilson with the A's last year. Everybody screamed about how good his hit tool is. Kevin McGonigle is like built in a lab to be a good hitting prospect. Not only does he have really good discipline, he has more walks than strikeouts in his career, but he also hits the ball hard, and he only stands 5'10". So he's not as commanding a presence in the box as Konnor Griffin is, but he hits the ball hard. He pulls the ball well. He lifts the ball in the air. Like everything he's doing at the plate is to get maximal damage out of his swing. And he's doing that with really good swing decisions. Like you would just tick every box of like, how would I try to make a good hitting prospect? And that's who he is. He's got above average speed, so he's going to steal some bases too. The big thing for him going into the Arizona Fall League, which by the way, he was the MVP there, was the defense. Is trying to get him to a spot on the field that he can stick. And he was working with Alan Trammell, obviously Tigers legend and Hall of Famer with his work at shortstop last year. They really like his work ethic. Is he going to have the range? Is he going to have the hands? Is he going to be able to make all the plays over there? We'll see. They also tried him a lot over at third base because the Tigers right now, biggest question mark for them is third base. I would have thought he would have landed at second. And if you were to ask me a few months ago, I would say he's the Tigers' opening day second baseman. Then Gleyber Torres accepted the qualifying offer. And they're like, well, he's our second baseman. Like the decision, I won't say is fully out of their hands. They gave him the qualifying offer if they didn't want him to come back.
And we know he's not moving a third.
Right. Everything I've been told is that he is not moving.
Yeah.
So Kevin McGonigle's best chances right now are at shortstop or third base. How do they view Zach McKinstry? Zach McKinstry's played a lot of utility. He's moved around a ton. I think he's just an okay shortstop. I don't think he's that great, but McGonigle's not that great either. They have a bunch of different options at third base. Howie Lee, Max Anderson, who was another really good in the fall league, good guy in the fall league. Jace Young, who is graduated but is still technically in the system. I think they're just going to throw options at third and hope somebody breaks through. But McGonigle's such a great hitter. Again, like if he were to come up this year and get 500 plate appearances, I could see him hitting 310 with 17 to 20 homers and being in the thick of that rookie of the year race.
Wow. You got me jacked up to see this McGonigle play. I mean, I feel like you were obviously at the Futures game, right? You were at the Futures?
Yes, I was.
Yeah. So one of my favorite, I love the media availability for the Futures game, for the All-Star game, because all these guys, they want to talk. I mean, they want to talk. I get the even like Connor Griffin. I mean, it wasn't like he was being surrounded by a million people, like she will be ultimately at some point, like Skeens is, but they want to talk. And McGonigle's sitting there by himself. Like no one was talking to McGonigle. Like that's what I remember. Like it was, and you're saying that this guy that nobody is talking to is going to be the best hitter of all time. So,
well, no.
I know.
I'm not saying greatest
hitter
hitter of all time.
I know. 2020s.
But I think part of that is like you look at some of these monsters who are out there, right? Like I remember being at that Futures game, and Connor Griffin is 6'4". Kevin McGonigle's 5'10". Like if you don't know to look, if you were to look, just scout the size of some of these guys and be like, who's the major toolsy athlete? You're going to look at Connor Griffin. You're going to look at Charlie Condon, who was also there.
Yeah,
the behemoth and hit rockets at Georgia. You're not going to necessarily look for McGonigle unless you know. And there are guys like me and you who like understand this stuff and are going to be researching it. A lot of people who show up for media day are like local people who are just like, oh, that guy looks huge and that guy showed out in batting practice. Let me go get him. He must be a dude. And they carry that with them for the rest of their time. I'm like, this guy's played 100 games elsewhere.
Well, that's the thing. If you put on that day, Max Clark, another Tigers prospect, who is you have at number 10 overall in the top 100. Congratulations to the Tigers, by the way. You put him next to McGonigle, everyone's talking to Max Clark because I think also Max Clark has gotten a little good job of his brand has never been hotter.
right.
Right.
It's never been cold. I'll even put it that way. Like, ever since draft day, people knew who that guy was because of his social media presence.
Social media talker. Yeah.
He loves talking about the game, and I credit him for that. He understands what everybody said about him in terms of his power not fully being there. Like, what adjustments can he make? It's a lot in the lower half to lift and pull a little bit better. But yeah, Max Clark will certainly talk your ear off if you give him the opportunity.
Good, man.
And good for him. That is not a criticism.
I mean, I think we're going to do at some point, we'll do the power rankings of best minor league talkers, which, by the way, Max Clark would be top 5. But I have, and maybe just because I've talked to him a lot, but Peyton Tolley, I think Peyton Tolley might be top 5 in Major League Baseball, like in the world of baseball.
Yeah.
So
if he doesn't have a lot of fans in Boston yet, he's going to very quickly this spring.
But this is the best thing. He's not trying like that. I mean, that's not even. Anyway, I do feel like there is a whole nother podcast to do on how minor leaguers are approaching media now. How, like they're obviously teams that try to control it. Teams do sort of the rookie initiation. This is what you want to do. And I didn't get the same vibes from a lot of guys. Whereas I said this to Peyton. I said, listen, never change, man. You're smart enough not to say anything stupid, but you also have a good personality. This is good for you. And I think that, and you deal with this more than I do, but like these kids got to understand it's okay. It's okay to show your personality. And I feel like they get right to the edge of it. And then like the rookie initiation training like seeps into their brain. Anyway. So.
Well, I will say this too. Like we've talked about Max Clark, and as if like people aren't talking to Kevin McGonigle because he doesn't have a personality. He does. I mean, he's fascinating to hear talk about his approach and break it down. He's very analytical. And he's not gonna do what Max Clark did, which was put social media posts on his shoes, like of people talking him down. He's not gonna be that type of guy. But in order to have the approach that he has, the discipline that he has, you have to have a certain mind, and he's willing to share that if you get to speak with him. So there's many different ways. You can have a really good.
I am not knocking Kevin McGonigle, but like you said, everybody is great. Everybody, I just want people to just not be paranoid. That's all.
And I don't want them to be robots either.
Paranoid, and you know what I'm saying. Like this is and I've had Joe, our CEO Joe, come on, and it's like the rookie initiation thing is like, what are they doing? Like, what are they doing? It's just let them be. And I get the sense I would love to be in that room. I would love to help them, first of all. They don't want my help. But I would love to be in that room because the people who are giving them advice a lot aren't the right people to give them advice. And well-meaning people, but still, I know that a lot of them aren't getting the right advice. Don't worry about it. All right, who's the next one? Who's the next one? They're going to be pushing the opening day envelope.
Well, this one I'm fascinated to see because there's still some moves that could clear another route for him. Is JJ Weatherholt of the St. Louis Cardinals, number 5 on our list.
Not Korean enough.
Is that the official word from the WBC?
The official word for WBC, not quite Korean enough.
All right. Well, anyway, it was going to be a fascinating spring for him. It's his second spring training, the 7th overall pick in the 2024 draft. People thought he was potential guy to go number 1 overall in that draft, ends up falling. I won't quite put it that. I'm putting up air quotes for the people who can see the video, but 7th overall, and then does really well at AA and AAA last year. Actually shows more power at AAA than he did at AA, ticking all the boxes for him to come up. It's above average power, above average run. He's got some time at short, some time at second, some time at third. He's not going to knock Mason Wayne off shortstop in St. Louis, so it's probably going to be second or third base. The Angels make the trade to send Nolan Arenado to Arizona. We were all waiting for where was Nolan Arenado going to be. So that clears one lane. I still think he's better at second base. Like, he has a strong enough arm if he's got his feet under him. But if he's throwing on the run, it can be a little all over the place. I prefer him at second base. That's a really strong double play combination. But they've got Brendan Donovan, who everybody knows is on the trade market, the trade block right now. And with Ketel Marte not getting moved by Arizona, they've been very clear about that. It just feels like a matter of time until somebody meets the Cardinals' price. And then if that happens, I would like them to give Weatherholt more looks at second. I'm sure he's going to move around still a ton, but the bat is ready. He's somebody who can, like I said, hit for power, hit for average. I'm not going to put like the McGonigle. I think he can win multiple batting titles, but is he going to have a few seasons in there flirting around 300? Yes. Is he somebody who can hit 20 homers? Yes. Is he somebody who can steal maybe 20 bags? Yeah, sure. He did that last year, 23 steals. So that's a really valuable player anywhere on the dirt, but especially up the middle.
See, of the 3 guys we mentioned so far, Weatherholt is the guy I think that probably is the best candidate to having the team be burned. Like you talk about Kurtz, like you talk not making the opening roster because we're being protective of the guy, and then boom, he does well. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, because I think Griffin and McGonigle, I think they're gonna make the team. I think they're gonna make the team. So I
go the other. I think Weatherholt's the guy who's more likely to make it.
Really?
I think they're actively clearing out space for him.
Okay.
Whereas Griffin and McGonigle, more so McGonigle, but like they're going to be in the competition. And it's like, can you win the competition? With Weatherholt, we want you here. The Cardinals right now, obviously, they may be a pop-up team this year if a lot goes right for them, but they're not openly trying to compete this year. So Weatherholt.
But that's my point. I mean, I might be wrong. My point is, so Detroit and Grit, like you make a great point about the Skeens window, which I don't think people talk about enough. That's the reason why you say we got to get this guy going, the major league level. With Detroit, we're a good team, but we need like actually production from there. We think he's going to be part of the solution right away. That makes sense. With the Cardinals, it's we aren't going to compete. We can take our time. And I might be totally wrong. But I'm just saying, I'm looking at it from the team's perspective of anything else. So,
yeah. And again, I think the PPI thing comes into conversation here. Because again, if he's hitting like 280, 290 with 20 homers this year, which is something he's capable of doing, that's a Rookie of the Year candidate. And that's going to earn you a draft pick in 2027 that is going to be part of your rebuild. So even if it's like, oh, we're not trying to compete this year, bringing him up early is still part of your rebuild, even if it's like,
yes, that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
I'm going to write this down and send it to Chaim Bloom. So, okay.
Have you thought about this, Chaim? I don't know.
Have you thought
crossed your mind?
But I mean, it's really like, but it's a great way to look at it though, where you say that, okay, you're rebuilding, and this is the way you rebuild by getting guys more of a runway in AAA, whatever it is. But the way you rebuild is by getting additional picks. The way you rebuild is by using this guy. And hey, maybe you'll take your lumps. Maybe you'll have the Pedroia April 2007. I don't know. like I'm dating myself. I'm sorry. But that's what I'm always going to come back to when he hit like 190. But maybe you'll have that. But still, ultimately, you're gonna if you have good leadership, if you have a good process, you'll find a way out of it. And by the way, you'll get your draft picks. So
Yeah, and that's the best. I mean, the whole point of a rebuild is to acquire talent and
that's
to
true, too.
graduate talent. So you kind of knock out two of those birds with one stone here. If JJ Weatherholt is as good as you expect and is up on the opening day roster.
All right, you got anybody else?
There are two more I'll throw out real
All
quick,
right.
just from our top. Is Colt Emerson with the Seattle Mariners, another guy who has some AAA time, borderline plus plus hit tool. He's somebody who's more of a shortstop, but I think he has the arm and the fielding ability to be really good at third base. They've mixed in a little bit of that. Seattle right now, obviously the window is wide open. They are going for it right now. They got so tantalizingly close last year, and you look at their team. Third base is pretty open. Like I think people expect Emerson to take over for JP Crawford. I don't think you can do that to Crawford this spring. But if Emerson is ready, and I think that hit tool is basically ready now, even at only 20 years old, and they don't go out and get like Eugenio Suarez to bring him back and play third base, then put in Emerson there. Like I think the guy is going to be a big part of their future. And he's somebody who, again, with the adjustments he's made as he's gone along, what happens when he's healthy, because last year he only had 70 games, this year was up to 130. Somebody who can hit for average, keep that offense moving, make sure third base is not a complete hole, and maybe get to be an all-star for you by year 3. So he's somebody I'm going to be watching if they allow him to mix in more time at third, or if they make a move to fill third base on their own. And then Carson Benj of the Mets, who is the talk of the town here in New York, because with some of the Mets, moves the Mets have made and some of the moves they haven't made, it feels like right now Carson Benj is their opening day left fielder. And I think he's ready for it. I know the AAA numbers were not stellar, but the under the hood numbers were all there. It's a good approach. It's good power. It's an arm that could certainly play in right field, but they're not going to kick Juan Soto over to left in deference to a rookie. He's somebody who I think could be an above average center fielder, but that's not something they need right now either. Bring in Luis Robert. So put him in left, and it's a cost effective way. But he's somebody who could be a multi-time All-Star as well in Carson Benj. So Mets have done a really good job of deepening their farm system, and he's a poster child.
Well, there's a couple of things I want to touch on with the Mets. Is that number one, the good thing is, like you said, you have Peralta pushing down McLean, right? You have Bichette in the order, at least veteran press. You don't have to rely on a guy like Ben. You don't have to rely on young players. Say, hey, go get him.
Right.
You have to be the best version of yourself right away, even with Beatty and Vientos. And the other thing is, like, I'm anxious to get your perspective on keeping Benj, giving up Jet Williams, what your take is on what they gave up in the Peralta trade and hanging on to Benj.
Yeah, I think Benj was somebody they absolutely did not want to trade because they view him, again, as like a potential above average center fielder. Whereas Jet Williams was somebody, and he's honestly, and plenty of people have said this, but it was my initial thought as well. Jet Williams is a perfect brewer, right? He's somebody who can move between shortstop, second base, and center field. He's short. He's 5'7", but he's also incredibly fast. He lives up to his first name. The Brewers just love those guys, right? Like Caleb Durbin fit that mold really, really well. Bryce Terang fits that mold really, really well. Joey Ortiz is a defense first guy, and it almost makes me wonder, like, Jet Williams has a better all-around hit tool and power. Does he end up knocking Joey Ortiz off shortstop, even if I think he's a better fit at second or center? But they just love these guys who they can plug in multiple spots and be like, hey, we'll figure it out. We just want the options. That's how we build a really good team. Carson Benj, not that I think if they got Carson Benj, that would have been a huge boon for them. But I think what the Mets are banking on here with Benj, and it's the same story with McLean. They both came out of Oklahoma State. They were both two-way guys. Now they're focused on one thing. We saw Benj take off. We saw McLean really take off when he focused on pitching. Benj is now fully a hitter. I think they still see some roadway ahead for him to take off even further and not just be like a good hit tool, above average power, 55s across the board. Maybe a few of these other tools get to 60s as he's, even more focused on hitting in his second full season.
So we mentioned, okay, you've declared that it was more important to hang on, or in their eyes, more important to hang on the bench than Jet Williams. Fair.
Yeah.
And then the other part of it was Brendan Sproat, and obviously hanging on. And you tell me, like maybe like it's such a difference, it's not even a conversation. And I'm not going to talk about McLean, but Jonah Tong, who I like. Did Jonah Tong disrespect is insulting to me.
Yeah.
And I may or may not be saying that because he's such a good guy and such a good Canadian and such a good talker and also such a unique pitcher. But when they trade Sproat over Joe, just compare for me those two, Sproat and Tong.
Yeah, very different pitchers. Jonah Tong has elite metrics on his fastball. Obviously everybody was making the Tim Lincecum comps, but despite it being over the top like Trey Savage, he also gets really, really good extension. So it's kind of a low release point. And the fact that it's also rising or appears to be rising at the same time, batters don't know what to do with that. He added some velocity last year. The big development for Tong was changing the grip of his changeup. Now he had a Vulcan grip. He stuck with that, but he moved the ball around slightly, got a lot more dip, a little bit more separation, made that into a plus pitch. Bigger question is, he has a north-south curveball, 12-6. Just drop it in there. That helps him play with that up and down game. He doesn't really have a pitch to his glove side. He has a slider, but it's not very good. Can he develop that to give batters something else to think about? Sproat last year, he still has a pretty good changeup. He has a pretty good slider. He's got multiple different options. I think it's 6 different pitch types. He's got a fastball or four-seamer. He's got a sinker. But the four-seamer is just very average, despite having good velocity. He's somebody who can touch triple digits, but the metrics on it are just plain, and major league hitters are going to really crush that. I would like to see him go to the sinker more because that's at least getting some weak contact. So even if he's not getting whiffs with it, it's on the ground. That's going to be a fit for Milwaukee, honestly, because they have Bryce Turang at second, Joey Ortiz at short. They have a really, really good defensive infield. So Sproat could be a good fit for them. But with the Mets, I think they still see some opportunities to grow for Tong, whereas Sproat is what he is right now. Could he get to be a number 3? Maybe, but he's going to be in competition for that number 4, number 5 spot in the Milwaukee rotation. And that the difference between his floor and his ceiling is pretty close. I think the Mets were willing to give up that and keep on to Tong, knowing that he could be a future mid-rotation guy for them.
What was your guttural reaction to that trade? What was your
exactly what I said. Like, this fits the Brewers so well.
So basically that's it, right? The Brewers get the Brewers players, and people can pick apart. Well, did you give up the right players? Did you get the right players? Did you demand the right players? Whatever it is. I mean, Peralta's a big deal. Like, I get it. He's going to be a free agent, but that's a big trade. That's a big commitment. This is the Juan Soto thing. It's a Juan Soto deal, like 1 year. That's it, right? So, but but you're like, okay, for who are the Brewers? I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but for who the Brewers want and are, this was a good trade for them.
This felt like this is what the Brewers do. And to a certain degree, I want to say, like, how could we argue? Because they're good year in and year out. They keep getting their opportunity at the dance. And the other part of me is like, yeah, but they haven't broken through yet. And I know the postseason can be a crapshoot, but at some point, if you want to get to the World Series, you have to change up a little bit. They're not quite willing to do that just yet, and they trust their development, which is excellent. They are as good at developing players as anybody else in baseball right now. They're really good at eyeing talent and going and picking it up. I mean, Freddie Peralta was not spoken about as an ace 3 years ago. They developed him into an ace, and he developed himself. Like, he deserves a lot of that credit too. But like, they helped get him to that spot. So I think they can squeeze as much as possible out of Jet Williams and Brandon Sproat, and those guys are major league ready. At least Sproat is more ready than Williams, I should say, but they're knocking on the door at the very least. So this isn't something where like, oh, we're going out and get pieces that you won't see for 5 years. This is how you keep the wheel turning, and that's just what Milwaukee does.
Well, listen, I've been wanting to ask you that for a while, but this is my way of doing it. Say, getting you in the door, say, give me the guys who are going to be on opening their rosters, and boom, here comes. Give me your take on the Peralta trade. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. Was it the biggest deal? for one. Well, I guess Scuba wasn't traded. I'm talking about for 1 year. I'm fascinated by one and done guys. So
Yeah. Yeah. And then, I mean, you don't even have to compare it to that. We also had the MacKenzie Gore trade, right? Which was not one and done.
Did you like did you like that trade?
That one I was
First
scratching
of all,
my head.
let me just say this. It's 5 guys is a lot.
It is.
I always worried when I see the 5-guy trade because a lot of times what that GM is doing, and with all due respect to Paul DeBoni, who is on the podcast the day before he makes the trade, and 5 guys, what worries me is the thinking is we're going to hit on a couple of them. But but what ultimately you're looking for is the guy, right? You're looking for the guy or guys.
Right.
And what's
Gavin
Fine
Fiend.
Fiend,
Gavin
Fiend, sorry. Gavin Fiend, like he's the closer. He's the headliner. But for what that was, what was your take on that?
Yeah, it's a lot of bites at the apple. It's definitely quantity over quality for me. There's no top 100 prospects in this deal. I thought there would be at least one for somebody of MacKenzie Gore's ability and contract and all of that. But I think right now the Nationals are we were saying this about the Brewers, like they're going to wring the most out of those guys. I think the Nationals are really undergoing a player development machine here, an overload. And they think like getting somebody like Fiend, who, first round pick last year, who the Red Sox were very much on. So Paul DeBoni is aware of that. They did not have him fall to the 15th pick, but he goes to number 12 to the Rangers. Somebody who could be an above average hitter with above average power. A little bit more questions like where does he land defensively? But they get him at the beginning of his development cycle for somebody they really liked. I think they're banking on that. Alejandro Rosario used to be a top 100 prospect, but underwent some health issues and also was down with an elbow injury that was awaiting Tommy John. The Nationals have now said he will undergo Tommy John, but he missed all of 25. He's going to miss all of 26. Can you bank on him being back? If he is, stuff's really good, and those guys don't grow on trees. Devin Fitzgerald, excuse me, was a pop-up prospect last year in the Arizona Complex League, somebody who could really hit. But there's just not that guy that's like, for me, this is now a star in the national system, or it could be a future star. Maybe Fiend gets to that. Maybe they know what to unlock with him. But I was a little bit more shocked with this one than I was.
You think he'll end up playing first?
Fiend? I don't know. They're going to run him out at shortstop as long as they can.
Yeah.
I think maybe you try him at third base before that. If we're already talking about this, it's not a great sign. I know he played some first base for Team USA in the past. I think he's more likely at third than first, but you never know.
Can I ask you about one last prospect, please? You've been
Sure.
very generous with your time.
Yeah.
In your podcast booth at MLB headquarters, MLB Pipeline headquarters. Travis Bazzana.
Mhm.
And so he's playing for Australia in the WBC. Last checked. At least that's what their managers told me. I mean, okay. What's your take on him? It's because you look at Cleveland. I took sort of a deeper dive into Cleveland after they agreed to the Jose Ramirez extension, saying, listen, man, like they went into the offseason saying they needed bats. They haven't got any bats. They have good pitching. They have Jose Ramirez. You talk about the Skeens window. Well, how about the Ramirez window? Yeah, I get it. They make the playoffs, whatever. But still, but you have the first overall pick in Bazzana. Where is he at? What's your take on him? When can we expect him maybe actually in the major leagues? I'm a Travis Bazzana fan in the sense of like I'm fascinated by Travis Bazzana.
Yeah. No, I mean, talk about great talkers, right? He's got that Australian
personality. All the
to him.
Australians are good talkers.
I know. I go back to I think it was his introductory press conference, and they were just asking him questions. He's like, yeah, so I'll go to Lake County. He's like, wait, can I announce that? And they're like, well, you just did. So you're going to high A after this. And I always love him for that. Last year it was sort of hard to judge him because I think people look at the numbers. It was a 246 average, 383 on base, 430 slug. That doesn't scream top 20 prospect, right? We have him at number 20 on our top 100. He was dealing with an oblique injury. And if you've ever swung with an oblique injury, it's tough. Like that is a difficult injury. And even if you're doubting yourself for like half a second of like, am I going to tweak it again? That has some downstream effects. The approach is still really, really good. As I said, the OBP was 383, so that's certainly going to play. His swing is fast. Like he's somebody who doesn't need to expand the zone. He's like, come at me. Like I will touch whatever you're going to throw, but I'm not going to expand the zone just to try to make contact. Like I'm going to hunt for my pitch, and I think that helps evaluators believe that he's somebody who can hit for a good average at the top level, show some pop there as well. I think he's going to be an option for Cleveland in the first half. I don't think he's necessarily competing for an opening day job. Anybody who's got AAA experience, technically they are competing for that. But I think one reason why, going to WBC, competing for Australia, he's going to be one of the best hitters they have for obvious reasons. But also, like, he doesn't need to prove himself in front of Cleveland. That's going to come more at Columbus in April and May. I think a healthier Travis Pizzana is going to go a long way. We could see some really, really good numbers at AAA, which is now hitter friendly, basically across the board with ABS. And I'm excited to see what it's like when we actually get fully healthy Pizzana.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned WBC. Like, there's going to be some prospects that I don't want to say sacrifice the opportunity to make the team or make their chances less. And I go back a few years ago, Jaron Duran decided to play for Team Mexico, which he like pinch ran like 5 times or whatever he did. But and Ramil Tapia like makes the team over him because Duran isn't in spring training. Like so anyway, another podcast, WBC podcast. Thank you for your time, my friend. Always a good
thanks so much for having me, Rob.